Well, hello everybody. It's Saturday afternoon. It's the 12th of October and I thought I would come on for a little chat about one or two things and to try a few spooky bakes. Yesterday Dan went to Chalfont St Giles and brought me back some Wenzels. I have a couple of the Wenzels bakes in the trademark box. Look at those. I will try the spooky donut first. This is an iced donut and it's not the traditional donut shape. This is a rectangular shape. It's got these scary eyes on the top, set in the glacé icing, and there looks to be some chocolate. So I'll give this one a try. Look, the chocolate is in the middle. Looks like Nutella. That's good. The icing's sweet, but the actual dough is not, so it's quite well balanced. This is really good. I have a cup of tea to go with it. This might have to get a 9 out of 10. I'm going to save some of the donut for Dan. I'm not going to be greedy because caring is sharing. Well, most of the time, anyway. Best not go there. And I want to talk to you about a couple of things as well while I try these bakes. I don't know whether you're aware, but Riverford Organic have brought out a new magazine called Vegetable. This is the very first edition. It's a quarterly magazine. It's £2. You can order it alongside your Riverford Organic fruit and veg or salad box. Autumn 2024. It's packed with recipes. There's 20 different recipes. This one's for onion bhajis, which I make all the time, but this gives a good step-by-step on how to make onion bhajis if you don't already know. And it's got this useful meal planner, which helps you plan healthy, well-balanced meals according to your individual budget and lifestyle. There are meal planners dotted throughout the magazine. It's on the other side of the previous page. And there's good articles. There's one here by Rushita Green, who is the author of a book entitled Love, Comfort, Passion and Craving, which she wrote in homage to some of her most treasured family recipes from her home city of Pune in India. I hope I pronounced that correctly. There's recipes as well for vegetable stock and a list of suggestions for different flavourings. There's one from Ribolita. It's popular in the summer and is one of the most adaptable of all soups. It looks similar to a pottage. I've just vlogged a pottage recipe. Pottage was the forerunner to today's soups and stews. It's been around in Britain since the 12th century, so the 1100s. And it's still around now, but sometimes under different guises and sometimes fancy names and ingredients. There's a number of French recipes for pottage using more versatile ingredients than one would have enjoyed in most households in the 12th century. Pottage was eaten by all social classes, whether you were poor, middle class or upper class. Of course, the middle and upper classes had access to more expensive ingredients such as spices and sugar. But of course, because they were richer, they also had more problems with tooth decay than poorer folk. Queen Elizabeth I had rotten teeth. She loved sugar. We had things come in, thanks to Sir Walter Raleigh, like chocolate. And the potatoes came with him as well. Before potatoes arrived in Britain, we had rice and pasta, and of course lots of different grains for making bread. We had barley, spelt, rye. In fact, spelt was first cultivated in 5000 BCE, so you're talking early Neolithic period. It came particularly to height though during the Bronze Age, especially in Britain. It was cultivated in Central Europe, and the Romans too had many recipes which they brought to Britain during the height of their occupation. There's an article here called The Great British Fake Off. Now it says, behind the supermarket's bucolic branding lies a web of deceit so damaging that it's bringing British farming to its knees. And we're talking here about farm washing. This is really interesting. It's something we should all know about. It's on pages 53 and 54. But with our organic veg box delivery last week, there's a shorter version of it, and I'll read you a little bit about it. Guy's News. Guy Singh Watson, of course, is the head of Riverford Organic. Farmers Against Farm Washing is the campaign. British farming is on its knees. This we are aware of. Multiple factors contributed, from climate change to ongoing uncertainty about government support, and of course a whole raft of other things. You have to read between the lines with what he's saying here. But the main issue is that farmers just can't survive the prices, trading terms and insecurity imposed on them by the big six supermarkets. That first paragraph says it all. I'm sure you can read between the lines. A year ago, we wrote to supermarkets as part of our #GetFairAboutFarming campaign and explained that British farmers are on the brink. In response, they publicly promised to support farmers, one of them to the tune of £17 billion, but behind the scenes, the crisis has worsened. 61% of farmers now fear they will go bust in the next 18 months, up from 49% last year. And indeed, certain government policies are making things very difficult right now and are threatening the very survival of farming in the UK. Now, a lot of my step family are farmers and or have been farmers, and have often had second businesses alongside the farming in order to make ends meet. Now, going back in time, my direct ancestors in Dumfries and Galloway, the Griersons, who are McGregors, the Griersons were farmers around Carlaverick, and they were very successful. And in those days, my fourth great grandfather, for example, James Grierson, was a gentleman farmer. In those days, farmers could make money. And even now, Dumfries and Galloway has a 70% agricultural economy. And to lose farming would be completely devastating to the whole beautiful area. Now, the Griersons, if we look at it from a family history point of view, have been in Dumfries and Galloway for the best part now of 700 years and derive from the McGregor of Lag branch of the Clan McGregor or Clan Gregor. Now, there was a period of about 200 years, in the lowlands in particular, whereby a proscription hung over the heads of the McGregors, and the Campbells and the Stuarts took away a lot of their property and lands. They had done well for themselves and put them to death. And a lot of them escaped to the whisky making hills of the Highlands, but those who didn't changed their name. So McGregor became Grierson, and Greer was another short form, G-R-I-E-R or G-R-E-E-R. Rob Roy, who you've probably heard of in Scottish legend, was also a McGregor. And the Griersons, like the other branches of a McGregor, originate in the 9th century Scottish kings. And even now we have a branch of the family who are Grierson's butchers in Castle Douglas. We're all related. Well, for hundreds of years, the Griersons were farmers in southwest Scotland, and as were the Forsyths. My fourth great grandma was Jean Forsyth. She was also the daughter of a farmer from the Dumfries and Galloway area. Therefore, when you've got tradition going back that far, and that occupation as well has sustained and even fought to sustain families and extended families and continue down the line against all odds, it's important that we keep farming going to pass on to future generations. The land was hard fought for and won and held on to, sometimes at great risk and sacrifice. A lot of farmers undergo great hardship to carry on their profession, because it is a profession, caring for one's animals, making sure they live a healthy, happy life. And at the end of the day, a healthy animal who has enjoyed life is a tastier animal, especially if that life has not been lived in fear. The article continues. The farms that do survive bear little resemblance to the ideal that shoppers are encouraged to imagine. Union Jacks on display in the fruit and veg aisles, meat claiming to offer higher welfare standards, and farm imagery on labels all imply to the time poor that the food they are buying is from wholesale British family farms. The reality is that much of the produce is imported, animal welfare claims are often cynically worded, and trusted farms are US-style mega farms, intensive farming where the animals have no life at all and live a life of pain and fear to bring food to the supermarket shelves and the table. This is one of the things I have against meat as well. I believe that if you're going to eat meat, it needs to be to the highest genuine welfare standards. And Dan and I get our meat from the Black Pig Butchers in Deal, which is owned and run by Lizzie Douglas and a fantastic team. The meat comes from a small network of trusted farms. Lizzie's actually been to the farms to see how the animals and the fowl are reared and has built up a good working relationship. And a lot of it is rare breed, like the Oxford pig, Aberdeen Angus and marsh lamb as well, from Romney, for example. And the chickens as well are from a family farm and all organic, free range. She also supports nose to tail butchery, whereby in full respect of the animal, you use every part of it and waste nothing, because that animal has given its life to sustain your life. When you go to the supermarket, you'll often find brands with farm names. We'll say like Hilltop Farm, Jolly Farm. You get the drift. And it's not actually a farm at all. It reads on, they are stealing the clothes of real farmers and not paying for them. This is farm washing, where something purports to be from a farm, say a Hilltop Farm or a Jolly Farm, but it isn't. And it might have a red tractor label, but what exactly does that mean? And they're not paying a decent price for the meat to land on the supermarket shelves. They're doing farmers out of making a decent living. British shoppers want to support better farming. What gets in the way is the power and misleading advertising of the supermarkets, whose business model depends on keeping farmers and shoppers apart and filling the void with a fantasy. See, this also includes as well, I should have said things like fruit and vegetables. Again, they might be called Rosebank Farm or Cottage Farm, but the truth is not what it necessarily implies on the label. In other words, the label is propaganda. It is a form of propaganda and programming. This is not a success of the free market, efficiently delivering what consumers want. It is the market failure that 18th century economist Adam Smith predicted would arise when one party has unbalanced power and control of information. In any healthy food culture, there's a strong connection between the people growing the food and the people eating it. That connection has been the root of Riverford's success for over 30 years. For Britain's family farms to survive, they all need to be given the same opportunities we have enjoyed to tell the stories behind their food and receive a fair price that allows them to farm well for consumers, animals, the soil, biodiversity and the planet. That's why we're asking supermarkets to show some integrity, to be honest and stop the farm washing and start offering real support for real British farms, not mega farms, which aren't really farms at all as we know them to be in the traditional sense. You can uncover more about it at stopfarmwashing.co.uk. I mean, I am supporting this, and I also support the No Farmers, No Food campaign. This is a very serious issue. There's times when we might all need to think about where our food comes from and also make sure that we have enough food. Even in the mainstream media now, there's more warning that we may need to think and pay more attention to what we have in our larders and refrigerators and cupboards to sustain us through what's likely to be a hard winter and could go beyond. And some areas of the world are war torn, and you never really know from one day to the next anymore when a disaster, whether it's natural or as a result of war or violence, when your turn's coming. So we all need to be more proactive in making sure we can feed ourselves and our families and maybe help a neighbour in need if they haven't been able to plan ahead. Don and I know that if there was a crisis, we have enough to sustain ourselves and our animals and would be able to help other people as well. Anyway, I think for £2 this is a very good magazine. It's got other recipes such as rainbow fries. Is that something you would try? I've had this kind of thing before, quite a few times. I always bake them, and what does it say here? Yes, they're baked in here as well. It's a good way of using up root veggies in your fridge that may be a few days old, and you can serve them alongside your main meal, or maybe have them as a snack. They're quite a healthy snack alongside a drink. Or if you've got a few unexpected guests and can whip up a few dips, then rainbow fries go down very well. There's another nice recipe here, rice pudding and baked plums. That's nice. But of course we're now in the autumn and winter months in the Northern Hemisphere. And of course the cold sets in, and we find that we need to maybe eat more calories than during the summer months. When the weather's cold, you tend to burn more fuel. Remember, we ourselves are a form of biodiversity and power and heating. And don't forget that when we're farming animals, we're also, for example, using the wool from the sheep to make textile items to keep us warm and cosy in the winter. And they have many other uses as well. This is a little pumpkin cake. I'm going to try this. This looks nice, pumpkin cupcake. It's a squidgy marshmallow pumpkin on top. That's quite cute. I'm not going to eat it all. Again, I'll keep some of it for Dan. The sponge feels lovely and moist. I'm going to cut it down the middle. Really squidgy. Yum. That's the structure inside. Very light sponge, not too sweet again. Nice open structure. Very light. Nice and vanilla flavoured. I love marshmallows. That's a nice marshmallow. And then there's some frosting on top. It tastes like vanilla frosting, and it's got some sugar strands on top in shades of brown and orange. The topping is quite sweet, so it's a good job that the sponge is on the undersweet side. It balances it out quite well. That's yum. I would probably give that about 8.7 out of 10. I find the frosting a little bit too sweet still for me, but I love the sponge underneath. And on its own, with just a tiny bit, that would elevate it to 9 out of 10 as well. And then I got these the other day from Aldi. McVities Jaffa Ween Cake Bakes, 5 bars. This was £1.25. I had one yesterday and I'm having another, but I'm keeping these for Dan. You can take them to work with him. They're individually wrapped, perfect for lunch boxes. Have a sip of tea. Nice chocolate on the outside, dark chocolate. Now the sponge is a lighter shade than the traditional Jaffa cake. Nice and vanilla, it's lovely and soft. Pick up some vanilla there. Lovely sponge. I love Jaffa cakes, but that sponge is a bit softer than the normal Jaffa cakes, and it's so good. And then it's got the orange jelly inside, and that's delicious. Ingredient: orange flavoured filling, 33%, sugar, water, glucose syrup, dextrose, glucose fructose syrup, concentrated orange juice, citric acid, pectin, fruit and vegetable concentrates, lemons, safflower, carrot, acidity regulator, which is sodium citrate, natural orange and lemon flavour, plain chocolate, 31%, sugar, cocoa mass, vegetable fats, palm, shea, butter, oil, which is milk, allergen, cocoa butter, emulsifiers, soya lecithin, which is another allergen, E476, natural flavouring, wheat flour, another allergen, calcium, iron, niacin, thiamine, water, sugar, vegetable oil, which is palm, rapeseed, humectant, which is glycerin, glucose syrup, partially inverted sugar syrup, dried whole egg, milk protein, dried egg white, emulsifiers, E471, E475, soya, raising agents, salt, natural orange and lemon flavouring, preservative, potassium sorbate, glucose fructose syrup contains the equivalent of 5% orange juice. So the allergens on there are milk, soya, wheat and egg. Has a lot of ingredient. I don't normally like eating things with a lot of ingredient. Occasionally it's okay, but I do a lot of home baking because I know exactly what's gone into it. I use French flour and that's not got loads of additives in either. In the supermarkets over here, quite a number of flours have added extras to prolong the shelf life. It's nice though. I might have to eat a bit more donut. Very delicious. Very delicious. Anyway, I'd be interested to know your thoughts about farm washing and the new magazine. I think it's great. It's a good start. It's not a glossy magazine, but it doesn't need to be. I'm passing my copy on to a friend. Certainly. There's some good recipes in there. I might have a look through all of them again and see about trying one of them. I'll think about that. At the moment I'm concentrating on recipes where I don't need to buy many things especially to create the recipe, but using more what I've got in the store cupboard. Or maybe just pop into the shop for a fresh ingredient such as cream. So in the last 48 hours I've shot this video, also a video for membrillo, which is a Spanish quince paste. We have a quince tree, a pottage, and also a pie, which is a recipe from the Regency period in Georgian England. So you're talking the early 1800s. I enjoy food history. It's one of my favourite areas, and I'm going to be doing some more soon. The membrillo recipe is one with Christmas in mind. I'm thinking about how we might, for example, make foodie presents for people and then just wrap them up prettily. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's something that the recipient is really going to enjoy, and you've put some love into creating it as well. I'll just have to do a bit of extra filming for a couple of my vlogs, and then it goes into editing. They'll be coming out over the next probably couple of weeks or so. We also shot a review at lunchtime today as well. So there's lots going on here at Evans HQ, and I will see you again soon, and I hope you enjoy watching the rest of the content that I have already scheduled. Bye for now.